Okay, well, welcome to your fourth challenge. You're on the home stretch. You're almost done. At this challenge, we are going to be addressing the vocabulary that goes with the Smarter Balanced Assessment System. So if you all open your blue book to page 30, you'll see that we've identified 5 key ideas and vocabulary terms for you. So we've organized them in a KIM chart. The K stands for that key idea or vocabulary. The I stands for information, where we've provided the academic definition for you. And then that empty column is the M is memory or visual clue. This challenge goes by very fast, but hopefully if you have any desire to take any notes or rewrite the definition in your own words or draw yourself an image to help you remember what that word means, then that is the space for you to do that. So we also have multiple pages of resources that connect back to all of these items. So the first one is on page 31, the Balanced Assessment System. But I know you just came from Patricia's challenge, so we're not going to walk through that because I know you just learned about that in depth.
Boy, did we. It was fantastic.
Good, that's great.
Incredible.
Great. Page 30, I'll be sure to tell her. Page 32 and 33, we have the Smarter Balanced Assessment System claims. So the claims, what is a claim? I'm going to go back to my page 30, my KIM chart. Claims are the broad statements of the assessment system's learning outcomes, each of which requires evidence. There's 4 claims in ELA, and there's 4 claims in math. There's also 2 overall claims in each subject area. So if you look at those overall claims, they're identified by grade levels 3 through 8 and then grade 11. But if you look at that, the only difference in the language there is grade 3-8. The students are demonstrating progress toward college and career readiness, and then that grade 11 is they're demonstrating that they're college and career ready in that subject area, okay? The next 2 pages we're going to skip until we have a little bit more information, then I'll walk you through those in depth. And then page 36. Page 36 is Hess's Cognitive Rigor Matrix and Curricular Examples. So this document has taken Bloom's Revised Taxonomy, something that we're all familiar with, and it's been crossed with Webb's Depth of Knowledge. How many of you are familiar with or have heard of Webb's Depth of Knowledge? Great, a few people. Wonderful. So those of you that have not, that's totally fine because we're going to watch a short video about teaching you quickly about what Webb's Depth of Knowledge is about, and then we'll go more in depth into how that is connected to SBAC. So before we watch the video, if you'll all turn back to page 30 and just quickly read that definition of depth of knowledge towards the bottom of the page, simply so you don't write something down that we've provided for you. And then I know it's kind of tight in here, but if you could all kind of turn your chairs as best you can so you can all see the screen. So if we look at the list of key ideas and vocabulary on page 30, the first 4 are kind of obvious connections to the SBAC. But does anybody know or want to take any guesses at the connection of the DOK to the Smarter Balanced Assessment System? Well, every test item that they write, they're actually assigning a DOK level or levels to. So when I say levels, some of the questions could be DOK 1 and 2. Others could be 3 and 4. Other questions could have a single identification for what depth of knowledge level it's at. Okay? So we've all been living in this world of Common Core, right? We've been eating it, sleeping it, breathing it, dreaming it. We've been just like dove into this Common Core world. And now we're looking at the SBAC. So I talked about quickly at the beginning the claims. So the overall statements of learning outcomes, okay? So the claims, if we go back to page 32 and 33 and look at those claims, those are pretty big, broad ideas. How in the world are we going to assess these? Claims 1 through 4, the same K through 12. The overall claims are identified by 2 words that differentiate the 2. So how in the world are we going to actually assess these? Well, SBAC also has the word targets. Targets, if we go back to our KIM chart, assessment targets describe the expectations of what will be assessed within each claim. So we have claims, and then now we just introduce the idea of targets. So we have the big broad idea, and then we know that the targets are a little more focused down. Well, SBAC has identified their target language is actually pieces and parts from the Common Core. So targets are the bridge between the Smarter Balanced Assessment System and our Common Core Standards document. And when I say that, I mean that because the targets that they're identified are the 8 math standards for practice. In math, they're also identifying those targets as cluster headings directly from the Common Core document. So if you remember last time you were here, we had you in the math scavenger hunt identify the pieces and parts. So that gray box is the domain in math. Following that, the bold heading is a cluster heading that then directly under that follows the standards. So you can see how we're taking the big ideas and boiling it down to a concrete example of something that we can actually assess. And I say standards because we're used to in our ISAT, one question assesses one standard. Well, in the SBAC, one question will more than likely typically assess multiple standards. Okay? So in ELA, they're connected to the anchor standards. They're connected to standards that emphasize complex thinking skills, such as analyzing, synthesizing. So targets is that bridge between these two separate entities. Okay? So to make more sense of that, let's turn to page 34 in our booklet and look at an example. So page 34, we're looking at a 4th grade math example. We're looking at claim 1. So that blue box is an SBAC language, claim 1. We're going through the domain of measurement and data. Domain is a Common Core language. In your Common Core document, that domain is that gray box, or if you're looking at the document online, it's the red box. Following that are those yellow boxes. Those are the Smarter Balanced Assessment System targets, but those are also your cluster headings in your Common Core document. And then you can see those then, because they're the cluster headings, those drill down to the standards, 4th grade measurement and data, standards 1 through 3. Okay? Any questions on that before we go to the next page? Okay, let's go ahead and flip to the next page, page 35. So if you were to Google this title, SBAC General Item Specifications, or go to this website that we've provided down here for you, you'll get a very large PDF document. What you're looking at here is a screenshot from within that very large document. So if you imagine continuing to scroll down, you'll have a test item down here. All of this information is everything that went into building this question. So this question that's down here is an 8th grade math question. It's addressing claim 1. This question is in the content domain of expressions and equations. This question is also addressing target C. SBAC has identified the targets as alpha, so target A through Z, and then they loop back around to target A1 and so on and so forth. So you'll have target A in math and you'll have target A in ELA. So that M in parentheses, I'm pretty certain is telling us that we're in math. So if you were to go into your standards document and look at 8th grade math under the domain of expressions and equations, that target C is the cluster heading that is above standards 8th grade expressions and equations standard 5 and 6. Then we see that this question that's down here is addressing DOK levels of 1 and 2. Then we have this long list, evidence required, list of sufficient evidence required for this claim and target. That is a new word. We haven't seen evidence yet. So I'm going to go back to my Kim chart on page 30. Each claim is accompanied with a description of sufficient evidence from which to draw inferences or conclusions about learning. So it's also important to see everything always goes back to those claims. Targets go back to the claims, the sufficient evidence connects back to those claims. Every question is connected to a claim. So those claims are going to be very important for you to get in the hands of your teachers, but then they also need to understand how all of this fits together. So that sufficient evidence connects us back to our claim. Allowable item types, SR, CRTE. Who can tell me what SR stands for? Say that again. Very close. Selected response. Very good. So selected response, we're used to multiple choice. Selected response is kind of similar, but it's going to be a little bit different. The current multiple choice, there's usually one right answer. The selected response, maybe it'll be more like the quiz you took this morning where it's select all the answers that apply. It could be in the math, clicking and dragging, putting equations and sums on a number line in order, things like that. Selected response. CR. Close. Constructed response. So if you don't know these, they're worth writing down because they're good to know. So we have selected response and we have constructed response. And I wish I had a prize. If I did, I'd give it to anybody that knew what TE stood for. TE is a little trickier. Yes! Oh, you're the first person to get it. Technology enhanced. So I wish I had a prize. Dave, maybe I'll get you a prize later. Technology enhanced. So maybe they have to watch a video to answer the question that's being asked, and then they pull evidence from the text from their video to support their answer. And then the fourth item type that SBAC has that's not an option for this question is PT, your performance task. And every student that's being tested will have one performance task in math, and they will also complete one performance task in ELA. Now, the last thing that I want to draw your attention to is the document that's at the center of your table. I said how important the claims are. Everything connects back to the claims. Well, this validates that. This is a document that SBAC just recently released. They are telling us that the scores, their student scores, will be connected back to those claims. So every student will get 4 scores in ELA connected back to those 4 claims, and then they'll get 3 scores in math. They're putting claim 2 and claim 4 together for that. They have yet to figure out how the weight and the distribution of those scores will total the composite score, but it's good to know that then you'll be able to see, okay, the student's doing really well in reading but struggling in writing, things like that. And then the last piece of that is that composite score will loop back to their overall claim. So that composite score will reflect back to how are they doing on their progress towards college and career readiness, okay? And then that last page, again, in your notebook is where you have blooms crossed with webs. So at this...
Do you have any evidence or any kind of a scoring rubric for this? Because I know like with ISATs, we know what a 200 means or a 210. What will this look like?
That I don't know. They're still working all those details out. I know that they're figuring out if it's all going to be language of college and career readiness or almost college and career readiness or progress towards. They don't know if they're going to stick with the younger language of proficient, advanced. That's still to be determined.
And we don't even know what the number range will be. What kind of a...
Not that I know of. No. So we have about 3 minutes left. So I would like to encourage you to talk at your table group or walk through some of these pages and make more sense of it for you. Heather and I will kind of float around if you guys have any questions. And then you guys move to your next station. Well, our time is up. We thank you so much. You guys are now moving to challenge 6.